Hi, my name is Stephen McGee, and I am the author of Electrical Forensics. And my work with electrical forensics has brought me into contact with some suspicious and arguably fraudulent police officers. And because of those encounters, I'm very wary and very suspicious of police officers that I don't know. And the purpose of this video is to talk about how to behave with a police officer that has randomly pulled you over for a traffic stop. And these are the techniques that I will be using in the future if a random police stop occurs on my car. Now, the police officer is behind you. He's got his lights on and he wants to pull you over. So the first thing you want to do is put your hazard lights on to acknowledge to him that you've seen him, and keep those hazard lights on the entire time that your vehicle is moving. The other thing you want to do is you want to adjust your speed down. So keep an eye on your speed, be aware of what the speed limit is. Make sure that you're a good 10 miles an hour under the speed limit while he is behind you. Now, the big mistake most people make in a traffic stop is stopping immediately without any thoughts to the environment that they're stopping in. That kind of mistake may actually kill you with a corrupt police officer. So the biggest mistake that you can make with a corrupt police officer is to stop in the middle of nowhere with no witnesses. And it's particularly so if there isn't anybody in the car with you and the police officer behind you does not have a partner. You are in a very, very risky situation at that point. And that's the dynamic that we're going to use for this discussion. You are alone and the police officer is alone. And you're in the middle of nowhere. So do not stop in the middle of nowhere, particularly if it is the middle of the night and it is dark. So your hazard lights are on, you keep driving at a slow speed, well below the speed limit, to a safe place. And hopefully the police officer will continue to follow you and acknowledge that that is what you're doing. So it's not a pursuit situation, you're merely looking for a place that you feel safe with the police officer. And typical places that you should be looking for are well-lit gas stations. You want to look for well-lit shopping malls. And you want to be looking for well-lit shopping plazas. They're the typical places that I would try and find a nearby location to go to with the police officer behind me. So, as far as I understand it, there is nothing illegal about looking for a safe place while you have a police officer behind you. The biggest mistake you'll make in that dynamic is stopping in an unsafe place with no witnesses in the dark, and the police officer basically has complete control of you at that point. So you get to your safe place. You want to park right in front of the busiest area, which is typically the entrance and exit to the shopping mall if you've gone to a shopping mall. So park right in front of that main entrance and exit area where there's lots of people filtering in and out. You want lots of witnesses with cell phone cameras. And at this point you should make yourself familiar with where your horn is, because you may be needing it. So the police officer behind you, your horn is a great way to bring attention to a environment that you feel unsafe in. So the moment you feel unsafe with the police officer, start sounding your horn. So the police officer is still behind you. What you do at this point? So you know he's going to ask you for your license, your insurance, and your registration. So by law, you need to hand them over. So have them ready to go. The other thing that you want to do is you want to get your cell phone out of your pocket. And you want to have it ready to go to call 911, because you may be needing it. Now, one of the things I do is I carry a spare cell phone camera in my car. And the reason why I do that is so I have a backup video camera system. And the other reason why I do that is because it has a voice recorder in it. So at this point you want to activate the voice recorder function of your cell phone and just put it on the dash. The other thing you want to do is if you have a dash camera, which this car has, there's a little dash camera right here, you want to spin it round so it's pointing at the police officer. So have your dash camera pointing out of your side window where you're expecting the police officer to come to. It's very, very important at this point that your doors are locked. So look around the car, make sure all your doors are locked. You're creating a safe environment at this point. You want to make sure your windows are wound up. Do not wind your windows down. You want your environment to be safe, particularly if you are a young female and the police officer is a male. He may be sexually attracted to you, and that's quite a dangerous situation for a young female to be in, particularly if it's the middle of the night and very few witnesses are around. So you've got to think of your car as an environment that protects you from the police officer, and you want to maintain that protective environment at all times, regardless of what the police officer says. So you're in your safe environment, you've got your spare cell phone that you keep in the car recording what is going on in that safe environment. You got your cell phone ready to call 911, and you got your dash cam video recording what's going on at the side of your car where you're expecting the police officer to come to. So the police officer walks up, keep your keys in the ignition, keep the engine off, and he's going to tap on your window and he's going to ask you to wind it down. He may even ask you at this point to step outside of the car. Keep your hands in sight. It's very critical that you do not do any sudden moves in the presence of the police officer, because there's a lot of police officers who have anxiety issues and they're scared of being shot. And the reason why they're scared of being shot is because they're trained to be scared to be shot. Because everybody is a threat to them according to their training. And they can die at a moment's notice according to their training by anyone. So it doesn't matter who you are, you're a threat to them. So there's a relationship going on between you and the police officer at this point. And that relationship is the police officer thinks you're going to kill them, because that's how they've been trained. And you're a suspect. It's the reason why you're being pulled over. You are a suspect at this point in some unknown crime that you may be potentially charged with. And because you're a suspect, you need to exercise your legal right to silence, because anything you say may be used in a court of law against you. So stay silent. Keep that right to silence as long as you possibly can. The police officer has no legal right to make you say a single thing. So stay silent, and the police officer is going to come up. Your relationship with that police officer as a member of the public is this police officer is a potential aggressor. He has a gun. He can kill me at any time. I don't know who he is. And if I'm a female, he may rape me. And police officers are known to rape people during stops. So they've been prosecuted for it. So, you know, it does happen. So if you're a female, you need to maintain your safe environment from that police officer. So he's going to come up. He's either going to command you to get out of your car, or he's going to command you to wind down your window. Now, if he commands you to get out of your car, don't do it, because you're in the business of maintaining a safe environment. And as soon as you break that safe environment, you are vulnerable to be victimized by that police officer in any way he wants to victimize you. So do not follow the command to get out of the car. You are not breaking the law. If he commands you to get out of the car and you don't want to do it, call 911. Speak to the 911 operator, tell her what's going on. You have an unidentified police officer who is outside of your car. You are fearful of the police. You are fearful of your life. in the presence of this police officer, and you would like a police supervisor dispatched to the scene immediately to assist you in dealing with this unidentified police officer. So keep 911 on the phone the entire time if you are not comfortable with that police officer. And by doing that, what you are doing is you're taking control away from the police officer who is outside your window, and you're passing control of the situation to 911. So take all your commands from 911. Do not take any commands whatsoever from the police officer. So if you're in a situation where he's told you to wind down the window and you're not comfortable with winding down the window, I don't recommend that you wind down your window with a police officer. What I recommend that you do is the window's up, just put as much movement into the window as you need to create a small gap to pass your documents through. So wind down your window. You don't need to communicate with the police officer. You're exercising your legal right to silence. Get your documents and pass them through that little tiny space in the window. You're maintaining your safe environment from that police officer. He now has all your documents, which you are legally required to give to the police officer. And if he looks over your documents and gives you them back, and tells you to have a nice day, great, put your documents away and off you go. It's unlikely that's going to happen. What he's going to do is he's going to start going into the reasons why he's pulled you over. And remember, you are a suspect in a potential crime that he may later prosecute you for. So what he's going to try and do, he's going to try and engage you in conversation to get you to admit guilt. And that's why you need to keep your legal right to silence. If he keeps on pushing you after you've stayed silent with him to speak with him, all you have to do at that point is say, I am exercising my legal right to silence with you because I am fearful of you. I have a fear of police officers. I am maintaining the safe environment of my car so that you cannot have physical contact with me. He really doesn't have much options at that point. Because if you've instructed him that you are in the safe environment of your car and you are not going to come out of that safe environment, then what can he do? Is he going to shoot you? Is he going to smash your windows to come and get you? I think it's highly unlikely that either of those two options are going to happen. So he's at a point where you are controlling the situation with him. That's the most important thing for a civilian to do, is to control the situation with a police officer. And the way you maintain control of that situation is by maintaining a safe environment in your car. So that's the techniques that I use with a police officer. I've never had to do it. I have rarely been stopped in the USA by a police officer. The number of times that I have been stopped, I've been in the USA since 2001. It's now 2017. I can probably count the number of stops on a hand, maybe 5 times during that period. And I can tell you that in one of those stops, the police lied to me. The lies were blatant, and I went to court over it. And when I got the court documents, he'd submitted fraudulent paperwork to the court. So he'd altered the paperwork from what he gave me at the scene and what the court got were 2 different things. So police officers lie. I've personally seen it. I've been personally harassed by a police officer at my own home. That police officer I called to protect me. He did quite the opposite. He victimized me. And then it was all covered up by police internal affairs. So probably out of the encounters I've had with the police, maybe a third of them have been with corrupt and incompetent police officers, and there's no shortage of corrupt and incompetent police officers in the police force. The majority of police officers are okay, and you're going to be okay in the majority of stops. But there is a minority of police officers who are corrupt. They're protected by their peers, they're protected by internal affairs, and the incompetent police officers are just as bad. You're probably at most risk of being shot by an incompetent police officer rather than a corrupt police officer, because they're probably suffering from anxiety, and they've been trained to be trigger happy, and they've been trained to shoot first. So no sudden moves. Do not make any sudden moves whatsoever in your car with a police officer, because he will say you are reaching for a gun. That's the stock police officer answer to shoot people. He looked like he was reaching for a gun. I had to protect myself. And I protected myself by murdering the person who did not have a gun. So he'll get off with it. The vast majority of police officers that shoot people in that situation get away with it. So be careful. Be careful out there. We live in a dangerous world in the USA in 2017. Very well acknowledged. It's been very well publicized in 2016. And the purpose of this video is to keep you safe. You know, most police are good. And, you know, that's hopefully the experiences you're going to have. If you have a bad encounter with a police officer, remember, your cell phone is your friend, and call 911 as soon as you're aware that things may be going out of control and that you may be in danger. And maintain your safe environment. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want to find out more about the work that I do with electrical forensics, you'll find it in this book. And it's called Electrical Forensics by Stephen McGee. Take care, and I wish you the very best of health.